We welcome you back to CBS Mornings as we continue our coverage of these devastating flash floods in Central Texas. We are so thankful that two young boys are here today to talk about how they made it out of that area safely. Their 9-year-old Braeden Davis and his 7-year-old brother Brock. They were attending Camp La Junta, that's near the Guadalupe River, when the raging floodwaters started to spread. Brock and Braeden are at home in Houston. They're there with their mom. You see them there, Keli Rabon. Keli, Brock, and Braeden, thank you guys for joining us this morning. This story is so heartbreaking. It's so good to hear a little bit of good news. Keli, why don't you start us off? When did you realize there was a problem and that your sons were in danger? How'd you get the news?
So early that morning, I received a text from the camp that said that they'd flooded overnight, but everyone was okay, but they were out of power and cell service, and so stand by for more information. It was several hours later when we got another update that it just started to sound worse. And, meanwhile, I start searching as to seeing what's going on in the hill country, and it was far worse than I would have ever imagined. So, as a mama bear, immediately, I'm like, I got to get in the car and go.
And I got to get there. Braeden, as we all see, things were not okay. Take us to the moment when you realized you were in trouble. What was it like for you there?
Well, for me, the whole time, I didn't really know what was going on until people came into our cabin and the director, Scott, he told us that there was a flood, but to be honest, I didn't really know what was going on.
Wow, so Braeden, there wasn't water in the cabin? Water never came into the cabin?
Not for me, but Brock, that's a whole nother story.
Brock, do you want to tell them about it?
Brock,
Yeah.
tell us what you saw and what you heard, because Braeden said there was no water in the cabin. Clearly you two weren't together. Tell us what was happening in your cabin.
When I woke up, I turned my flashlight on, and I think I saw water outside, and then we had to get on the rafters, and then a wall fall, and then my door flew away.
Brock, that must have been very scary, Brock.
Was it scary?
No.
Oh, he had to climb from initially the bottom bunk to then the top bunk and then ultimately to the rafters to try to avoid the water. And at least as a mom, that sounds quite terrifying. I think He's still processing.
I know, Keli. It's so interesting because I'm scared just listening to him. He goes, nope, it wasn't scary. Keli, what can you tell us about Go ahead.
He just graduated kindergarten. And so, for an adult, I feel like that's terrifying. They had only been at camp for one full day at that point. So, he didn't even know his cabin mates' names.
I did.
So, yeah, it was definitely terrifying. And then couple that with being in the dark, I can't even imagine.
I know. Braeden, were you frightened, Braeden? What were you and your friends saying while all this was going on?
Well, when they were saying cabin 6 was in the middle of the flood, I was like, that's crazy, because my little brother was in that cabin, and I guess, Mom, I keep hearing on the news, the river goes 26 feet, right?
Yes.
Yeah, and it's basically just flat ground. So imagine just water coming there, and the current is just rushing and rushing, and you have no idea what's going on. So I just imagined it for Brock. To be honest, I was more worried about Brock than myself.
Oh, I love that's what a big brother does. I love hearing that. Keli, take us to what it was like for you, how you were reunited with your sons. How did that happen?
So, it wasn't until about 8 p.m. when we were reunited, and thankfully they were able to bring the boys to a church in Kerrville. But during the day, we're talking about a ton of boys in the heat with no power, and ultimately there was a National Guard drop with supplies at the camp. But we weren't getting very much information at all. So again, it was just super terrifying not knowing. But seeing them, I've never felt such a sense of joy and relief, while also bittersweet sadness, because at that point I'd already heard about what was going on at some of the other places. And so, it's almost like you have this sense of survivor's guilt because you feel so much joy to see your children, but you still know that so many people are hurting and desperately looking for theirs.
I know, Keli. I keep thinking about that too. And Mother Nature is no joke, and she reminds us time and time again. And I'm wondering, I would imagine you'll all hold each other extra tight today. But what is your bottom line message to the people who are watching this story? What do you want us to know?
Well, I think we're grateful for everyone's interest in this story, and I think we just need more prayers. Please just embrace this entire. There are kids from around the country that go to these camps, and so many are really hurting right now, and so we just ask that the entire country just really wrap us in your love and your prayers.
Yes, we can do that. As parents who send our kids to camp, we can all relate to this story on some level. Keli Rabon, we thank you. Braden and Brock, we're glad you guys are okay. Thank you guys for taking time with us this morning. We'll be right back.
Thank you.